that extra wing in your
I'm pretty
mansion,
sure Alex
right?
Garfield's one of your favorites.
Come on.
Oh, no, I don't know. Not anymore. I mean, I got my money. I'm all good there. Alex is good.
But
So,
no, we
gentlemen.
like you for you, though, Scoot.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you,
I was
man.
going to say, you are definitely one of my favorites. I can say that. Me and Duncan, we're slowly merging into one entity as it happens. We're just the
I need to
hated.
figure this out because it's always a problem last year at Gfinity. Like, obviously, he has a nickname. We all have gaming nicknames, Richard. I know you're above us now. You're a big-time sellout. But I can't call you Goblin Ballsack all weekend. So
No, you can't.
can I call you Gonzo? Is that one you still like?
I'd rather not.
Okay.
Because
I feel weird calling him his nickname and you calling your real name.
You're the host, obviously.
Right.
So you can do whatever you want.
I'll try Duncan.
As we found out at past events.
Oh, zing. All right, so let's get right to it. Again, very cool to be back here in London. It's about 6 months ago we did Gfinity 3 inside Copperbox Arena. Several different games. There were 4 different games going on, 4 different stages. Gfinity definitely would be the first to admit that they maybe bit off more than they could chew. And, production-wise and some issues during the tournament obviously came up. They have kind of reworked their entire plan on what they want to be as a company. It's kind of cool. They have partnered with this company called View, which, again, sounds like a very, very big cinema chain in the UK.
Right, yeah.
In the States, we would have like Harkins and AMC. So big chain. They've basically literally taken over 3 theaters, and they now own 3 of these theaters here in the Broadway Fulham kind of multiplex, if you will, which is really cool. I think something to be obviously noted is last week we all enjoyed ESL from Poland. A spectacle in the sense of crowds and all those kind of things. This is not that kind of event. Obviously, we've got a grand total of about 600 seats between 2 theaters, so more of an intimate viewing experience if you come to the event. But obviously, very similar watching at home. And I think it's kind of akin to, like, you can go see, like, your favorite band in a big, huge stadium, or you can maybe dip into a nightclub where they are. And this is kind of more of that very, very nice kind of nightclub setting. Obviously, very cushy, nicest seats in esports, right? These are like those cushy theater seats. The cup holders, they're serving beer and popcorn. And again, it is a movie theater, so everything that comes with it. Also attached to a mall. Close to, help me out, Chelsea Stadium is here, right? For football?
Fulham has a
Fulham has a team too, okay.
Or Fulham.
What is it? Is it
Fulham?
Fulham.
Okay. But I like the way that you said the Fulham. The idea that there's a team out there that's
Can we
going
have the next one in Birmingham?
Yeah, there's lots of hams.
I've been watching Peaky Blinders a lot, so I can dip into some of that shit. Okay. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that show. But Chelsea also plays nearby too, right? Fairly close? No?
Yeah, well, they're local rivals. They're local rivals.
Okay,
but I mean, London's pretty big.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the only thing that's even comparable to American big that we have in Britain. So everything else is quaint and dinky.
Gotcha.
But London is.
So what are your guys' thoughts? And we're going to jump right into all this in a minute. But what are your thoughts on, because this is different, right? We're not used to this. We're used to a traveling roadshow of tournaments to go into different venues, do different stuff. Or we're used to people just doing their own studio stuff from their home studio. What do you think of this idea?
Well, listen, my opinions on different countries that host esports tournaments are well known, quite famous, in fact.
Too soon.
But I'm enjoying being able to come to an event in the UK, have it be a big one with lots of good teams there. So it's unique for me. Actually, before the Gfinity tournament I'd never been to a big esports tournament in England.
Yeah.
And yet I'd been doing esports stuff for like 14 years at the time. I'd never been to a really big proper scale one because I wasn't around in the source days, so I didn't do CGS and stuff. So it was really unique for me in that sense. So it's
They
strange
weren't big either. You didn't miss
in
them.
a way, yeah. but it's strange.
Salvo.
Yeah, it's strange to be able to just take a train and come to a big esports event, especially one that now has got some of the best teams for Counter-Strike here.
I mean, I think it's a really good fit. The idea of having an esports event in a theatre, it's here. You don't necessarily need to set up too much, so that's great. The stages look brilliant. But just the idea of having that almost auditorium feel, being able to observe an esports event, having everything just in place, it's just really nice. Like you say, it's very cozy, it's very intimate. And I think that's a great environment. It actually reminds me a little bit, dare I say it, of the Dream Arena at the DreamHack.
Robert's here. Don't tempt fate.
I know. But it does remind me of that, the auditorium feel, which I always think has been very well received and very appropriate for what an esports event offers. So I was hugely impressed. I did see your tweet the other day of the stage, I think it was. You took some pictures. Looked great. So to actually have a walk around, it's been brilliant. And,
well, actually, that's the thing. When you mention that, like the auditorium feel in DreamHack, that's where actually originally esports in the West started with crowds. When ESWC used to have that big auditorium in France, that was like the first crowd atmosphere we had, where it was like the football aspect going into it. Whereas before, where we've all been to tournaments, there was just LAN parties, and you could stand behind them, and then maybe there was a projection screen off somewhere. So it's not actually going back that far, to go back to this sort of a setting.
And you're right, from a UK perspective, we've been starved of events like this. All due respect to multiplay in the Insomnia series, which is the staple of UK esports. It has been for a long, long time. It is more of a convention. It is more of a LAN party, as Duncan says. Finally, now with companies like Gfinity, we're actually starting to get some solid events on a regular basis in great venue. So this is great. This is an exciting time for UK esports. I mean, we've said this many times in the past, but dare I say it, this might be the revival. Scott, it might be.
Well, and that brings up it brings up a good topic, because obviously what they're doing here in London isn't to necessarily be like an ESL or a DreamHack or an MLG or anyone else. They're and again, I think they're getting a lot of grief for it, but they're obviously caring about the local gamer, in the sense of some of the lesser teams are invited or they have local qualifiers.
Yeah.
So, the internet is abuzz with, why is this team here? Why is that team here?
Before anyone gets crazy about that, let me remind you, at some of the majors where they invited a team just from South Africa, a team from Australia. Now, it's one thing when they qualified this time for ESL 1 Katowice.
Sure.
You had to qualify to get there. But in the past, these invites were going out just to the international. A team from India went to, I think, ESL 1 Cologne.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Previously, they were trying to foster international tournaments. So, listen, I'm not a huge fan of inviting, not-so-good teams, but if one organization can do it, people have got to be fair in terms of how they treat that,
Yeah, and maybe better that it's a regional thing. It's not from India. It's obviously from here.
It's hugely important that you share the wealth, and by the wealth, I don't just mean the money. I mean the competition, right? Like you've got to invite the lesser teams to compete against the big boys, or that gap's only going to get wider and wider. So what Gfinity have done is, a smart play. It's good to see a UK team actually get a shot.
Yeah, and again, we're here for Counter-Strike.
Yes.
But the one last little thing about the overall venue is they're basically doing this every weekend until September with different games. So again, trying to build that local, people aren't going to fly in necessarily to watch some of this stuff. But if you're in London, big, huge city, easy to come down here every weekend and watch either Hearthstone, StarCraft 2, Counter-Strike, FIFA, and Call of Duty, which is their kind of what started.
It's
kind of what started Gfinity, but they quickly realized. They quickly realized.
They do the odd tournament.
Speaking of Call of Duty, this whole event is being simulcast on MLG.TV. Check it out. There's your one plug. Okay. Wait, was that live? Okay, let's get right into it. So obviously we're here. $50,000. First place, $25,000. Cool thing about this event is we've got quite a few top teams. We're going to talk about your overall top 10 list later in the show tonight. Okay. But again, let's kind of break down these groups. Obviously, some of these guys came straight from Poland, which is kind of cool. Yeah. And then we have some of the local teams. Why don't you kind of walk us through what we got here?
Well, I mean, we'll start in Group A because that's where the big dogs obviously are. Like NiP and Envious on my list, they're like number 2 and number 3 in the world. NiP was playing in the final of ESL 1 Katowice only like a week ago. Envious, they won DreamHack Winter, the major before that, and MLG. So these are 2 of the world's best teams here, and they're in the same group. And interestingly, as I'm sure you're going to allude to, when you talk about the format, that means essentially we're going to get like potentially a free like World Championship final type match in the group stage, a best of 3. Then you've got Property, who, okay, they're not so well known. They're a Swedish team, but the players within them are known. They've all been around the scene. Some of them have been in different teams. Like one was in LGB back in the day with all of them and Crims. JW, crucially, from Fnatic, the new champions of ESL. He's going to be standing in for them. So that's already a potential upset right there. You got one of the world's best players coming into the team. And then Gamers 2 were formerly known as ESC, the second best Polish team. They were the team actually who at DreamHack Winter came very close to upsetting NiP on cash and knocking them out of the tournament actually in the group stage. But in the end, NiP prevailed, went to the final there. So we'll see what they can do representing Ocelot's new organization. Over in Group B, the big name, obviously, Virtus Pro. They reached the semi-final of ESL 1, but actually they're attending with a stand-in here. They're bringing Michu, but normally, like, listen, that's a turn-off when you hear that a really world-class team's bring a stand-in. But you don't have to be too worried because they have used him before. They actually used him at the Game Show League. I think it was in October of last year. And he's played with them in the past when they've needed a stand-in. So I'd imagine it's a little bit more familiar than just a straight-up stand-in guy. Yeah. Cloud9, obviously a huge organization from North America. At the moment, probably still top dog in North America, but that's a bit touch and go.
Sure, sure.
Orbit is another Swedish team of players where...
Replacing Titan,
by
the way.
These have some other names that you'll know once we get to the rosters. And then Infused is the local talent. They're the guys from the UK, and They were at the last Gfinity, some of them, and so we'll see. They've got a massive uphill challenge to get out of the group here, but let's see if their invite was worthwhile.
We actually have our matches for the day. So obviously we're going to kind of talk about all of them, but we're going to focus on main stage matches. But again, there are 2 theaters here with the exact same, basically, stage setup. So it's not even like you're playing in a back room. You're playing on a stage, just in a different theater. Obviously, Ninjas and Pajamas Gamers is the one we're going to do, Cloud9 and Team Orbit, and then obviously on the Challenger stage, you see those 2 matches as well. But again, both matches are streamed, so it's Gfinity TV and Gfinity TV 2, so you can multi-stream that, see both of them. Let's kind of go ahead and talk. One thing you didn't mention in the groups is JW's here, but he's not here with Fnatic.
No.
Who's he here with?
Well, he's here with Property. And so, I mean, that alone, the good thing about JW as well is, here's the interesting thing. In Fnatic, he plays this really wild card role where he does whatever he wants in the team. So actually, if you were going to pick up a ringer last minute to bring into a team, that's exactly the player. Super explosive player, does whatever he wants, doesn't even really play off the team. And so if they just set up a Fnatic-style scenario, listen, I don't know if he can win the series, but he could win them a map.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think Property here, like, when I was looking at the roster, a lot of the XLGB players are on it. You know, Schneider, who was one of the favorites to maybe go into Ninjas in Pajamas when Fifth Laren dropped before Makalela got that role now. You know, rest in peace, Makalela. We all miss you, brother. But, you know, I think that Group A is incredibly stacked. I think gamers, too, are really going to have a tough time in there. And I think, quite rightly, I think Team Property are going to, you know, potentially cause an upset in the groups here. I mean, they've got some fantastic talent on the roster, and JW is really the tip of the iceberg. He's like the icing on the cake. You know, you bring him in, and he is a wild card. You know, he can be amazing. He goes for the wild shots, the flamboyant shots. If they come off, brilliant. You're going to win a round. If they don't, you're probably not. And that's just his style of play. But I'm interested to see how they match up against Ninjas in Pajamas, because they know all of those players very intimately from years and years of playing against each other. And everyone knows the Swedish scene's quite incestuous anyway. They all play, they all intermingle.
Just in game, though.
Yeah, just in game. No, not literally, obviously. I don't want to get into your kind of territory.
Yeah. Well, it was fun. We were all here for a couple hours, maybe.
No more dream hacks.
Yeah,
we're out.
But you know, I think probably I'll have a better time against Ninjas in Pajamas. I think that'll be a series that actually could potentially throw up the banana skin rather than Team Envious, which have been here in London for like. They were here in London before they even went out to Poland, so they've been boot camping. They're effectively almost like a home team now. They've been living in that hotel, like Alan Partridge or something.
And you brought up GSL, and again, normally we're used to and never happy with best of one GSL style, right? Which we love GSL style, but this game with the maps and the sides, like best of one is never. I shouldn't say never. But generally the best team might not win, right? But best of three, you know. Cream's going to rise to the top, right?
The reality about best of one is that it's always been a necessity due to the organizational failings, if you like, of esports organizations. The fact that if Counter-Strike's a game that always seems to have delays at every event. How long have we been going to events? Have you ever had an event when there wasn't a delay? You know, it's back in thinking maybe 2. And because of that, the best of one is almost like the safety net. It's like, well, it's only one game, we'll be okay. But if you have a best of 3 and something goes wrong, that's terrible. And that's one of the reasons why we've shied away from it, even though there is no doubt the GSL system, a best of 3 system in the groups, is it's the only way to decide a match. Otherwise, you are going to get these freaks, these anomalies, and it can be quite sad to see a very good team get, wrecked on one map that they really didn't want to play, but they couldn't veto it because they had to veto another. Best of 3 is always the the purest preferred way to settle a series between 2 teams.
And speaking of that, we're going to get right to our casters, which is really cool. We've got Semler and Vendetta. But before we do that, let's quickly tell the folks at home what our maps are and kind of get some thoughts on the picks advance.
Okay, so for
the main group.
So for Virtus Pro versus Infused, this is the first one we want to do?
No, we're doing the NiP Gamers 2 match.
Okay, NiP Gamers 2. Okay, so NiP picked Cobble, and their bans were Mirage and Inferno. Interesting they would ban Inferno, because obviously, famously, that was actually their best map up until recently. But they kind of had a big upset where they got beaten by TSM on it in the round of 8, so maybe they just want to steer clear of that. They're picking Cobble. The new Cobble, obviously, redesigned. Gamers 2 picks Nuke. Itself a strange one, because historically, NiP was really good on Nuke. But then again, Nuke was the map where they almost lost to TSM in that same round of 8, so maybe they've seen something there. And then Cash will be the decider. And actually, this ex-ESC team is well known to be good on Cash. That was the map I said before, where they almost beat NiP on them when they just got Makaleli. So if it can get to a third map, that could potentially be real fireworks there.
Okay, and while we got some time, why don't you go ahead and walk us through the Challenger stage match, which is Virtus Pro infused, right?
Okay, so Virtus Pro picks Cash. Not really a surprise there. They're a very strong team on that map. Then Infused picks Inferno, which interestingly has famously been quite a good map for Virtus Pro, so it's already looking a bit bad for Infused there. And then the Deciders Overpass, where Virtus Pro play a bit of it. So I think the problem with that map pool there is that Infused, it's going to be hard to steer away from Virtus Pro's maps because they're so good. And so I feel like it's setting up to be a 2-0 there for Virtus Pro.
But Overpass is the map, if I recall, that Keed beat them.
Yeah, I think that might be right.
Yeah,
in the round of 8.
That is correct.
Very close. I think 14-16.
It's interesting, that one, actually. I mean, that's one of those situations where Infused have picked their best map, which is hands down Inferno. And it's also very strong for Virtus Pro. So it's one of those things where it's like, are you going to do what you do right better than the team that can also do it right? You know, and I agree with you. I think Infused are going to struggle this event. They're not really a team. I think we should kind of point out they're almost like an amateur team at this point. They don't really practice that much.
Yeah.
They're not together. They come together primarily for events. But who knows? You know,
Nothing
I
to
mean,
lose.
VP with a stand-in. Exactly. Nothing to lose. We've seen VP slip up against lower opposition in the past. So.
And you can't scout that team. You have no idea what they're going to do, right?
Because they don't play.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you absolutely can't.
Which, incidentally, I think is where Team Orbit can sneak in, because all these teams were probably thinking about Titan and how to play Titan. And now this wild card shows up that is a good team in their own right.
Absolutely.
So that'll be very interesting. All right, folks, that's it for us. We'll be back after this best of 3 to talk you through the next set of best of 3s. Sir Scoots, Duncan, Richard, and now the two guys that I'm really excited to see, Semler and Vendetta. Take it away, guys.
I love the timing. All right, thank you so much, Scoots. So that's it. We've heard about every detail we could possibly imagine. But before we get into the game, guys, it's time. No, wait, that's not how it's supposed to go, right? No. Okay,
exactly.
No, we're here to see some CS, right? So
Exactly.
that's it, man. First game of the tournament. Ven, are you excited as the bearded Scoots sounds?
I actually am, because we haven't seen Gamers 2 since offline qualifiers for Katowice. Obviously, it didn't go too well for them right then and there, so they've had some time to improve. NiP, on the other hand, they've been very busy, just coming off the second place at Katowice.
Yep.
Excited to see whether or not Gamers 2 can actually create an upset here. They talked about it in the studio. They could potentially see this, going to a third map, so that could be exciting. I'm actually most surprised about the map pick from NiP, which is Cobblestone.
I actually think that this isn't that big of a surprise, because we know that the teams are getting more and more comfortable on this map. They've had a long time now to get used to it, and more importantly, since the changes have come, pleasure by playing the map. They've actually found that it's fairly interesting. It's given them more options, easier to get some rounds on the T side, and that's kind of like what the whole map was about before. You kind of got stomped into the ground if you started T side, and then it was kind of like actually, the opening for Gamers 2, because we see how NiP play the map, but we don't really know how Gamers 2 play the map. And so they could be going into this thinking, great, this is potentially an opportunity for us to catch NiP off guard right out the get-go.
Yeah, it could be a blessing and a curse, really, because seeing how they didn't qualify for Katowice, they had no real reason to practice Cobblestone. So that is something that you have to take into consideration. Obviously, they hope that they had practiced it for this event, but it might have not been their focus, seeing how they missed out on Katowice. NiP, on the other hand, has scrimmed or practiced Cobblestone at the time. Yeah, exactly. So I think first map, too many issues, but as you said, Gamers do a bit of a wild card, really, when it comes to how they play Cobblestone, so they could have a surprise.
Yeah, I'm really interested as well, just because, Polish players, did they take any tips from VP on this map? VP, they have a great control of mid with like the Neo Snacks combo, which I'm kind of sad because Snacks isn't here. I don't know if that was mentioned, but he caught a cold coming back from Poland, so unfortunately he wasn't able to attend for him. But so we're not going to be able to see that if VP play Cobble, but we could potentially see that from Gamers 2 if they've taken some notes from their Polish brethren, if they've pracked a lot versus VP, and if they're going to be able to throw a little bit of that NiP's way and see if they can't catch the Swedes off guard. Unfortunately, my paper has dropped, so while that just happens, we'll have to wait until we go into the actual game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think
it's definitely going to be exciting to see. And as you said, I think it's kind of a necessity for Gamers to really Virtus Pro if they want to have a shot at beating NiP. But it's an uphill climb for them. Everybody expects NiP to win, and I think you feel the same way.
Well, they said that, or at least I think it was group, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, you're going to be hard pressed to go further than that. I mean, Envy, NiP, top 2 and 3 according to Thor, and pretty much agree with him. I mean, those are the top dogs right now. NiP finally getting back up, at least onto the podium. We'll see if they can get that top spot. But Property and G2 are also two really solid teams in their own right that are filling out the bottom of this Group A. So we can't underestimate these guys. They are capable of actually inflicting some damage. So when he gets into a map like this, certainly a best NiP. And perhaps NiP might be feeling a little tired as well after all these games that they've been playing. They've also been on a bit of a marathon. Beats us straight into this event. Gamers 2, however, are going to be fresh. They're going to be ready for this. They're just prepared for this event. That's all they had to worry about. And they just had a whole weekend to watch how NiP are playing right now. So if anything, if they knew that this was going to be their first map going into it, I think NiP really have to be on guard. All sorts of crazy stuff that they prepared just.
And I think also what's a cool thing to have in the back of your head, really going further into this, beyond the first game, is the fact that, well, you talked about Property. It's a Swedish team. They've been, on the up as of late, and we know how domestic matchups can go. They get crazy.
I'm just waiting for Schneider to get right? It's a pity the train isn't in the pool anymore. That would be perfect.
It'd be very fun. So what look forward to tonight, and I think we're going to get a great game to start everything off with. I
think it's going to be perfect too, and that's also something that we have to mention. We're not showing the map or the team in particular that you want to be watching. Of course, you can go over to Gfinity TV 2 and check out the matches there. It's actually such a sick venue as well because it's in a cinema. It's in a cinema, so the actual cinema with the projector up on the screen. We've got the player booths as well, and it's just side by side. You have two just huge viewing rooms here at Gfinity, so it's a really cool idea. I know that Scoots was gushing about it earlier, so I won't go on into too much detail, but really, like the whole venue, how this place fills out. I'm really excited to see how packed it can get on the actual weekends, right? Because we're still Friday, right? So Saturday, Sunday, are we going to have this play? Teams in the world play. I mean, Fnatic didn't make it, but we still have NiP and VVP. I mean, that's a solid roster right there.
I mean, you do have a bit of Fnatic with JW and Property.
One-fifth of Fnatic,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah, but here we go. You actually have the players now on your screen, and they are playing in booths here. They've prepared that. They use them for COD. They use them for all their games essentially. In there to fit the 5 players that you need for CS. So that's right here next to us on the main stage. Really sick setup here at Gfinity as well. But as far as the players are concerned, NiP have actually been coming into the event. Like we've been here for a few hours now, and actually they've been in that booth that entire time. Like they've just been getting prepared. Forrest and Freiburg have been having like surf offs. Just getting their eye in, getting ready for this match. But NiP right now are just buckled down and focused, no doubt about it.
Yeah, absolutely, and obviously. Vita's performance wasn't really just a flash in the pan. They want to make sure that they are a stable team. After talking with the players after the event in Poland, they were obviously very high on the fact that they wanted to show that, well, we're coming, for that.
They are already talking about that with an interview on Aftonbladet with Forrest, him saying, because Aldo is the big question, right? Is he going to go the way of Mikelele, of Delpan? It's like nobody even mentions Delpan anymore. Like Delpan was actually like the second stand-in for NiP, and he just was there. With Aldo now. So that was unfortunate for Delpan, but he's still bouncing around, and they really seem to have settled on Aldo. And listening to the POV stream, all throughout Katowice, every time you get to actually listen to fitting in well with the team, cracking jokes with Forrest. I mean, you got the biggest hang, and Aldo can. He's got that dry finish wit. And then, just as far as the calls are concerned, it really seemed like on the outside, just trying to do his thing, and then the other 4. That's how it functioned. No, it really felt like they came together as 5, and Alu felt like he was part of. As far as we know, Forrest is saying, so long as Alu is happy right now, we're keeping stay as part of NiP. So this is it. This is perhaps the roster that we're going to be looking at for the next 6 months here, at least. That this is the one that they're going to try and make that.
We're going to see this lineup for a lot longer than 6 months, just from talking. But just from talking to them, they seem to be all in love with Alu, really, and you can't really blame them, judging from the POVs, and they just seem to have a great chemistry together, and they actually play good CS, which is a pretty big thing, and it seems like we're going to have a bit of a sneak peek on Cobblestone here.
Yeah, and this is it. I mean, we got the run-through going.
Knife round.
No,
it's not.
It's not the knife round. Actually, for a second there, I was like, wow, okay, and then they're all just running out there. High impact, but now you guys can see basically the features, the different features on this map. So we have connector here, right? And Like they have changed quite a bit now on this map, but now here we are into the game, and it will be settled. There was a coin toss to determine which team would get to pick or start the pick ban, but as far as actually starting on sides with the map, we have NiP. As to whether that NiP round has actually been played out or not, I'm not sure. So we'll find out in a moment, but everybody's going Kevlar. All who went Kitten, HE. NiP must be starting on CT. G2 will be starting on T side here on Cobble.
Yeah, and a very typical trend in these days is that we're seeing Tech 9s coming out on the T pistol for the T side. So both Rowland and Schroeder picked up a Tech 9.
Freiberg is going to start us off strong. He's already getting one headshot. He's going to get overwhelmed, though, and that's just Sparrow being able to walk in and pre-fire those angles. He's going to be able to just rush Freiberg down. So into a 4v4, but Forrest on long is already away, but he's not going to be able to pick up that second one. He's actually one picked up. He's got the Tech 9 now. He drops Innocent down to 16 HP. Forrest showing that he's in pretty good form. All that surfing, it's good for something, Ben.
It's definitely good for something, and Forrest has notoriously been an absolute legend when it comes to pistols. Form, and right now G2 is in a really awkward spot, even though Schroeder has a Tech 9.
I think it's going to be it. I mean, they kind of just have to hold on this, but as long as it exists, it's suicide for them. They have a single smoke, but they do manage to catch Exist, just taking that extra step, and that's going to cost. And to try and close that gap, he's going to drop the bomb carrier, and that's leaving it down to Innocent now, who has a Tech 9 Kevlar, so he can take a little bit of a fight, but he's only got 16 HP. Just keep him from getting onto this bomb. For him to jump out there, it's practically suicide. Although he had all the time in the world to line up that HE, and he just eliminates Innocent.
It seems like we're going to have a little bit of a pause. Not quite sure what that is about, but hopefully nothing major. But yeah, obviously in the AR walls is going to do a lot for NiP in actually gaining map control, because picks up that kill, even though it gets taken down, he gets the information that he needs. There's only Shredder around, nothing really to be worried about just instantly for NiP. So you can see that they hold their rotations, they don't do anything silly, and off of that being, able to stay in his position.
I think that's the big thing is the extremities of this map as well, but being able to push out, like any map, like Mirage, we're always talking about pushing into AAPs, pushing into BAPs, these sorts of things. It's the same thing, same concept on Cobble, and you can see it on your mini-map there, those passages on the side, on the left and the right. So Freiberg, exactly what they need to do. But NiP right now, I think they're going to be feeling pretty confident with that start. It was a little shaky there, but they played it well, especially after. Both of them are there, guys. Don't be pushing them. Get Right was quickly able to change it up. And once they had that bomb in hand, that was pretty much a situation that NiP, it should be impossible for them to lose, barring some godlike headshots coming out from Innocent in that situation. Now we have the force buy actually coming up here from Gamers 2. They didn't get the bomb plant. They know that this is a double eco situation, so they're just going to go for it. Tech 9 armor. I'm surprised to see that we don't have more Tech 9s. There's actually a Deagle getting picked up here.
Yeah, the Deagle is actually quite surprising, but it does work out pretty well if you're able to get into such a wait and an angle for someone to come aggressive on you. Right now we can see G2 is posturing up towards the drop zone here.
They might be running into a bit of a... There it is, the Pro 90 angle holding behind it. Alu is there with with his Nova as well. It's like everybody's kills with the SMGs. Exist has his own Pro 90. He's able to pick one up, and the final kill goes Alu's way. 2 kills for your Opera with a... Quickly, $5,500 already. So he's probably just going to stick with this again this round, because he knows no plant for Gamers 2. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah, this is just an excellent opportunity for NiP to basically just build that economy. Alu already sitting on 5,500 is a great position to be in. He can basically make mistakes and still be able to pick up that AWP in the next round. Gamers 2, though, on the other hand, the best they can hope for in this round is maybe a couple of kills.
Yeah, an HE to the face is definitely not part of what they were hoping for. Sparrow does manage to catch Get Right out. Good positioning there. They're just getting gunned down here. Forrest lining him up at the end. A quad kill with the UMP. That's $600 per kill. So much money. Speaking of Alu getting out of there filthy rich, Forrest as well. That's insane. That's so much money that he just made in one round. And that means that they have serious options. But there you go. The first one that I was going to say, that double AWP setup. I mean, what do you think about that double AWP setup on Cobblestone?
Actually, like it allows for aggression both in A-holes, and you can also have that safety back towards the B-bomb site. So definitely a viable setup for NiP, especially when they have such stable AWPs as Alu and Forrest.
I already see them taking up positions as well. Gamers 2 right now, they have been blocked off at the end of that long hallway now, which is new essentially. You used to be able to just get behind the major pillar with the tree on it and kind of just close. A wall has been added in to really make that just a long hallway, that exit there for the T side. So you can see them gathering up outside of it. That's where the bomb is right now, and they're just taking their time setting up.
Yeah, gamers have no interest in potentially losing the first buy round to some random aggression from the Swedes. So just taking their time setting up, and we're most likely going to see a smoke execute here towards the B bomb site.
It's looking like it. I mean, Existence spotted him out now, and he does make it out in time. That's so important. He's going to be able to slow things down with that flash as well. Good anti-flash timing that sets it up for Force with this AWP, who's going to miss his first shot, and he's not going to get a second one. Patient, and there you go. Closes that angle, but he gets dropped down by Menis. Freiburg, however, returns instantly, and this quick rotation coming in from NiP. 4 members surviving at the end of the round, but NiP just doing a down the push once they saw it coming, and then rotating everybody in to shut it down.
Yeah, great work from NiP, and I'm actually surprised that we didn't see, well, what I'd like to see from Gamers 2 in that situation is a bit more of a well-planned execution, really, because it was a couple of flashes, and that was pretty much it. So a bit of a thought.
Okay, so it looks like we're going to take a quick break here. Is that what's happening? We're resetting the sound real quick from what I understand, guys. So 2 seconds, 2 shakes of a lamp.